What's going on, guys? Jason Maxwell here from JMax Fitness, and today we're talking building the arms. All right, so, this is kind of embarrassing. You go about training your arms and then you go to measure them, and for whatever reason, you're stuck at this 15-inch arm barrier. I found guys that are around like 5'11", 6 feet tall, who are under 14% body fat. They have a lot of trouble breaking through the 15-inch arm barrier. How do you train the 15-inch pythons and make them grow? What do? Well, luckily, I figured this out for you. When I was 19, I started really getting into training. I built a pretty great body, just doing like functional training like an athlete, Olympic lifts, getting stronger, things like this. But I really believed that, you don't need to isolate the arms and train them on their own. They're going to grow via big compound exercises. Well, fast forward a few years and my arms didn't really grow. They were stuck at that 15-inch arm barrier. A lot of guys get stuck there. So over the past 7, 8 years, I've tried everything, and I figured out a lot of great methods that are going to work. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. First and foremost, I have a little bit of a story to tell you. I guess 3 or 4 years ago, I was working at a gym downtown Toronto, and there was this one trainer that worked there. His name was Chris. He had some of the biggest guns I've ever seen. This guy had we're not talking 15-inch pythons. His were probably at least 20 inches. He had some big arms. And one day I was sitting between clients and I was like, yo, Chris, how'd you build your arms so big, man? And he told me that ever since he was 16 or 17, he would just train his arms every single day in his basement. And year after year, your arms really start to grow. So generally, if you want to build your arms, you got to train your arms, and you got to train them more frequently. There's nothing wrong with training your arms every single day if you want to build big arms. I call this going all in. You want big arms? Go all in and get those big arms. Attack that goal and kick some ass and build some big ass arms. It's not going to happen overnight, but day in, day out, training your arms, they're going to get bigger. So that's the biggest thing here. If you want to train your arms, you got to at least be training them 2 times per week. So this brings us to the next point, is what kind of exercises are you going to use? So first and foremost, with your upper body, you need to be spending a lot of time in, I call them the 4 big compound movements. Essentially, it's a horizontal push, a horizontal pull, vertical push, and vertical pull. And what those do is they build, your rest of your body, but they also build your arms as well. So that means something like a bench press, some kind of rowing action, some kind of pull downs or pull-ups, and then overhead pressing. Those are going to hit your arms indirectly. So on days that you don't train your arms, you can still get in some arm action because you're training your upper body. So that's important to know there. But I would say add 2 more exercises for your upper body workouts, and those will help build your arms even more. And I really like these as arm builders. It's almost like the compound lift equivalent of an arm for your arms, but one of them isn't even a compound lift, but it's kind of like a big lift. But anyway, the 2 are close grip bench press and barbell curls. If you can add in those and get stronger in those, it's going to help build your arms. So just adding those 2 exercises into your upper body workout will help build the arms even better. So definitely use those. One thing that I think really helps build your arms that no one does, which I think is freaking ridiculous, you got to be doing this, is working with heavy weights in the arm isolation exercises, but with lower reps. So a lot of guys will train their arms the lowest is pretty impressive. So, if you want to build your arms and you haven't lifted heavy on your arms, training on, 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps. So I guess it was total of 10 sets on the biceps and 10 sets on the triceps. And it exploded my arms. Half an inch in 4 weeks is freaking killer. So, and the cool thing is you get much stronger in the arms. So then when you do use higher reps, and you can use a lot more weight, and that's going to build your arms even more afterwards too. So it's like a win-win situation. So definitely do that. The last thing that I used that really worked to build my arms is blood flow restriction training. Now, what's the scariest training method you've ever used? It's going to be blood flow restriction training. It sounds freaking nuts, and it kind of is, but there's a lot of science supporting it, so it actually works really well. And what you do, it's almost like you're a heroin addict and you're injecting heroin. You're going to tie like a wrist wrap or a knee wrap around the top of your arms, like just under the deltoid, but like above the biceps and triceps, and you're going to do it pretty tight. So a tightness of like 7 out of 10. So if 10 out of 10 is like unbearable, it's going to be about a 7 out of 10. And the whole purpose is you're cutting off the circulation so blood can only enter the arms and it can't exit. So the blood starts to pool in the biceps and triceps. And then what you're going to do is do 4 sets of 15 reps. Let's say on the biceps, you'll do 4 sets of 15 reps, resting 30 seconds in between. And you keep it wrapped the whole time. As soon as you finish your 4th set, you're going to unwrap and rest like, 3 to 4 minutes just to let the blood, get the circulation going again. And then you can do the same thing for your triceps. And you're not going to be able to use a lot of weight at all, but the pump is going to be insane. And the pump really helps you build muscle as well. So it's kind of crazy because you can use such light weights, but you can really build your muscle just because you're doing this one weird thing where you wrap the top of your arms. So one place where you can really add this in is, let's say you want to add an extra arm day, but you feel like you're overtraining. Well, you can just use this blood flow restriction training because you're not using heavy weights, so it doesn't fatigue your system as much, but you're still getting some great results with your arms. Another thing you can do is, let's say you're taking a deload week. Well, you can deload and then use blood flow restriction training on like three days that week and make some great results, still recover from your intense workouts before, and build up your arms even better. So blood flow restriction training, I would definitely recommend it. The very first time I did it, I really screwed up. I wrapped it too hard. So I wrapped it too hard and I was doing it and I was like, oh, this is so freaking painful. Why does this hurt so much? I was looking, I wasn't getting a pump and I was like, what the fuck is happening? So it turns out that I wrapped a little too hard on my arms and blood wasn't even able to get into the arms. So afterwards, for like 2 or 3 days, I had like this weird capillaries broke or something, and I had like dots all over my arms, these red dots. So don't wrap too tightly when you first try it. Essentially, I would say go a little bit lighter on the wrapping the first time you do it, and then each time you do it, wrap a little bit tighter, and then you'll get a feel of how tight you should be wrapping, because the whole point is when you do wrap tight enough, you're going to get like an insane pump. But if you wrap too tight, you're not going to get any pump at all. So if you're not, you should probably have a pump by like the 2nd set. If you don't have a pump by the 2nd set, maybe the weight's too low, but you probably wrapped a little too tightly. So that's one thing you need to know. So just to rehash and everything I just taught you, if you really want to build your arms, you got to train them frequently, like this trainer that I used to work with. And you got to use the big 6 compound movements instead of the big 4. That's going to help your arms there. Try training isolation exercises on your arms in 3 to 5 reps. So like 10 sets on the biceps, 10 sets on the triceps, 3 to 5 reps once a week. That's really going to help you. That'll be a great arm workout to add in to really help build your arms, because if you're not training them heavy, you're missing out on a whole lot of arm action. And lastly, try blood flow restriction training. It works really well. There's a lot of science supporting it. It sounds stupid, but it actually works really well, and it's safe if you don't wrap too tightly. And that's it, guys. So this is a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, and use at your own risk, but I found it to work quite nicely, and a lot of my clients have found it to work quite nicely. So guys, I'm Jason Maxwell from JMax Fitness. Take these tips, build your arms, kick some ass, and I'll talk to you guys next time.